I think boundaries is such a frowned upon word and it's such a complicated word, right? Because so often some people struggle with putting boundaries in place. For some people, boundaries are easy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for others, boundaries are complicated because to put boundaries in place sometimes almost comes off, for some of us to really do it.
It almost comes off as rejection,
Exactly.
but it's not. It's not rejection.
Exactly. And some people don't know how to put boundaries in place outside of being angry. It's like
Right.
I'm angry, then I put the boundary
Yeah,
in
I've come
place.
to a fed up place,
Exactly.
and so now I need to.
Which the intentions of boundaries is to keep me from even getting to that fed up place. Because
Right.
I want to say this, and I hope everybody understands the frustration leading up to the boundary. That's what the boundary is intended to protect. What up, everybody?
Hey.
How y'all doing today? Like check 1 2. Can you hear me out there? Hey, Mina.
All right. Sending out the last few little text messages.
What's up, Jay? What's up, everybody? So many of y'all may know, man. We have been doing. It has been an awesome month and a half, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of growth, a lot of shedding. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because I feel like each season, as we get deeper into the context of some of these discussions, like there's so much more we have to deal with internally,
On the back end.
like
Yeah.
on the back end, like outside of the discussions that happen on the forefront here, you know? And so it has been um it's been a growing season, a stretching
Mm-hmm.
season,
Mm-hmm.
a developing and an understanding season for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So for about 4 or 5 weeks, we did a series dealing with forgiveness. Forgiveness swayed and transitioned into toxic love.
Right.
And so today, continuing on in the vein of that series, we are going to be dealing with stop overlooking the crucial boundaries. Stop overlooking the crucial boundaries. Let me tell you something. Just as we segue in, those of you who are new, you'll kind of see the format as we roll. Those of you who are familiar, you'll rock with it and roll with it. I know it appears we're a couple of people shy today, but our other partners had some things to do, and so we gonna keep it rolling. Amen. Um, but I want to tell you um, that I think boundaries is such a frowned upon word and it's such a complicated word, right? Because so often some people struggle with putting boundaries in place. For some people, boundaries are easy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for others, boundaries are complicated because to put boundaries in place sometimes almost comes off, for some of us to really do it.
It almost comes off as rejection,
Exactly.
but it's not. It's not rejection.
Exactly. And some people don't know how to put boundaries in place outside of being angry. It's like
Right.
I'm angry, then I put the boundary
Yeah,
in
I've come
place.
to a fed up place,
Exactly.
and so now I need to.
Which the intentions of boundaries is to keep me from even getting to that fed up place. Because
Right.
I want to say this, and I hope everybody understands the frustration leading up to the boundary. That's what the boundary is intended to protect,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that frustration is a heart thing,
Right.
right? It's I've giving you tolerance, of giving you patience, right? And for depending on the situation, sometimes it's common sense. The perception is that it's common sense not to step into that place or overstep that boundary, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think it's a universal boundary, one that we all know, right?
But it's
Like
not.
don't do that, right? And it's not sometimes. And so but I also want you to understand boundaries is kingdom. Like it's
Right.
not just a carnal, fleshly term or perception, but it's kingdom. And I can show you a couple of places. We're gonna dive into the discussion of the questions, but I want to get you some context here, right? I can show you so many times in the Bible where a boundary could have kept something from happening. I'll take you back to Judges chapter 16, where we see Samson and Delilah. The truth of the matter is had there been a confirmed standing on boundary between Samson and Delilah, right? Samson, the boundary would have protected Samson from what he exposed. And the truth is, Samson tried to really establish the boundary. He tried to put a boundary in place. The problem is that he got, after a couple of times of coming at you and coming at you and coming at you, Samson lowered the boundary. He put the guard down. He put the gate down. And that's how frustration came in. That's how all of those, the deception, the loss of his hair, the frustration and the struggle within having to kill the Philistines. Like, there was so much that happened because the boundary was broken. And so some of you are sitting on here today, and you can say the same thing, is that there are some people you loved, but the problem is because there was no boundary within the love, right? That love grew into a frustration. And for some of us, that frustration grew into a hate because there was no boundary.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I would have said, this is my boundary, right? This is my deal breakers, right? If I would have established those things early, then there were some things that happened that wouldn't have happened because the precedents would have already been set. These are some things that are no-goes for me.
Right. And so I was going to relate that back to a scripture, Amos 3:3. It says, do two walk together unless they have agreed to do so.
Yes.
So it's not just one person agreeing to do so. It's the both of you in agreement of this is what we're going to do.
100%. And so the thing that we have to understand is when you put a boundary in place, and I'm glad you said that, because when you put a boundary in place, you might not like my boundary.
Right.
But for us to continue to be in an agreeable relationship, you still have to respect my boundary.
Yes.
I'll give y'all an example. Most of you know that I'm a talker and I talk loud. Now, I've been working on those things. I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I'm a talker, and the preacher in me is a very projecting communicator.
Yes.
But then I married my wife, and my wife says, okay, don't talk loud to me, right? Like, as you can hear, for those of you who probably on the call, you can hear her whispering just on the microphone, right? And so she's not allowed talking. So she's like, okay, these are some things that I need for us to walk in agreement and for this to work. And because we walk in agreement, I started working on being able to step into that boundary, right? And so I'm saying that because so oftentimes we're in relationships with people and people are telling you what they need to have a healthy relationship with you. And the struggle is, well, if I do that, I'm giving you your way. No, you're saying I come into an agreement with having a relationship with you, whatever that relationship is. And if I truly love you, then there is a boundary that you are establishing that I shouldn't have to try. I shouldn't be trying to figure out how to knock over your boundary, how to overstep your boundary, but to learn how to manage this relationship within the parameters of said boundary.
Right.
All right. So question number 1. Here's question number 1. Why are boundaries necessary in love? This is a multiple choice. It's A, B, or C. And you select A, B, C, or you can type in all, okay? Why are boundaries necessary in love? Boundaries are necessary in love because A, to guard your heart, B, to define respect, or C, to maintain identity. Why are boundaries necessary in love? A, to guard your heart, B, to define respect, or C, to maintain identity. All. Oh, yep, all. 100%. All, yes. Let me tell you something. When I read through this lesson, just in my own space, first of all, let me extend by saying I agree with everybody in the definition of all. But when you listen to these multiple choice answers, most of them are probably going to fall in an all place. But the idea is, which one is the one that speaks most to me? And for me, it would have definitely been to maintain identity, right? Because what happens in relationships, if you don't put a boundary in place, you begin to become somebody that boundary was intended to protect you from being,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so oftentimes we enter into these relationships with no boundary,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm just being honest. Not just we oftentimes talk about love only from the perspective of intimacy and marriages, but bro, what about friendships?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some friendships that if we don't put a boundary in place, you'll handle me like people have handled you. Not
Yeah.
necessarily how you want to be handled,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll unintentionally handle me the way people have handled you. And the truth of the matter is I don't desire to be handled that way. So
Yeah.
how do I protect the friendship
Yeah.
while at the same time protect my heart, protect
Myself.
me?
Yeah.
I gotta put the boundary in place. And let me say this, and I'm pretty sure I can look in your face, you
Yes.
got something. But let me say this.
Okay.
Boundaries are easier to process and receive when they don't come out of aggression.
Right.
When I say to you, this affects me.
Yes.
And let me say this too. For men, sometimes that's a little more harder to do or to say in that way because of, can we just be real, because of the ego that sometimes we walk in,
Mm-hmm.
because of the top, just the, I don't want to say toxic, but just the way we were raised. Sometimes emotion seems to be a sign of weakness, but the reality is I have to tell you that this affects me, because if I don't, you'll keep doing it,
Yeah.
and then you will get the toxicity of how it
Of the
affected me.
response. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say, guard your heart, and I'm saying that because Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And so I want to make sure that I am loving people properly,
Yes.
handling them properly, because um, my emotions and my values could damage somebody.
Hmm.
And I don't want to mishandle somebody in the way that I am processing myself
Yes.
and being that reflection, right? So I want to be able to say, what does this person need from me, and not what I need to spill on this person. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? I don't want to be the person that like people say that I'm the person that always makes people cry when they're talking to me.
Facts.
But I don't try to do that, right? I try to be I try to listen and ask you what you need from me, so that way when I come into this situation, most of the times it's like just a nurturing moment. Like they just need that, the person to give them compassion. But if you're not in that compassion state, and you set the boundary of saying, this is as far as I want to go with this conversation, because we've had that over the last couple
Yeah.
of weeks. This is how as far as I want to go in this conversation. I respect that and say, okay. And so do you want me to help you with next steps, or what are we doing? And
Yeah.
if you don't want me to help you with next steps, I'm okay with that. And
Yes.
I'm not going to keep pushing my agenda because I want to help, or because I want to be of service, or I want to be that person. Like I don't want to sow the seed, water seed, and then reap the harvest. It's up for God to reap the harvest. So if
Yes.
I'm here to sow, or if I'm here to water, I'm okay with that. I don't have to see it all done by me.
Yes. And let me tell you something too. In the space of love, healthy boundaries are intended to keep something out.
Mm.
Excuse me. It's not intended to control, to manipulate. Healthy boundaries is intended to keep something out. And I'll give you an example. Like, no, no one. We put a fence around the house
Mm-hmm.
to do two things.
Mm-hmm.
It's to keep things out. Excuse me, and to keep certain things in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason for a fence. So when I put a boundary in the term of agreements of our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it's to keep something out, but also to keep something in. So when you even going back again and you look at the story of Samson and Delilah. Had the boundary, Samson was basically saying, I can't tell you that. No one's supposed to know what that thing is.
Yeah.
It's to protect me so that I keep my strength, but it's also to protect you so that no one tempts you to expose to you that secret thing about me.
But it also like leaves room for that God conversation, right? So the God given relationship. I am not your God,
No.
and I am not the person to save you. Yes, I can give you information, but I don't want you to come to me because you think I have a better relationship with God than you could ever have. That is not the case.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you how to equip yourself with the word and then go to home with the word for yourself.
Yes.
And be able to line it up, because that's important for me, is to be able to take something, because people have loads of information. So you take the information, you go home and you apply it to the word and try to line it up. And then if it lines up, then apply it to yourself. But
Yes.
I want to be able to separate the two. I am not your God. And I might be flawed, you know what I'm saying, in the information that I'm giving you. So go check it and line it up with the word.
So let me ask you a question. Everybody, you got the hand raising tool. Everybody, if you are good at receiving boundaries, raise your hand. Give me just a hand tool. If you're good at respecting other people's boundaries, raise your hand. Hand. I see it. Now let me ask you this. Hand. Now let me ask you this question. Here it is. I'm about to flip it. I see a hand. I'm about to flip it. You ready? Raise your hand if you do really good at creating boundaries. If you're good at creating boundaries, like you create boundaries without an issue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just learned to. Mm-hmm. See, I'm gonna say this. I was one of those people who couldn't put a boundary in place. I was one of those people who couldn't put boundaries in place till I was upset.
Yeah.
And by then, the intent was for it to be a boundary, but it really sounded like lashing out, like
about
anger.
to say like a vomit of
Yeah,
things.
but the intent was to put a boundary in place.
Right. I would say myself though, I thought in the beginning, right, the boundary was just me not saying something. Mm-hmm. The boundary was for me, right?
Yes.
And I only applied it to me. And it would be like somebody say something offensive, but I wouldn't say nothing offensive back. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that was my boundary. That's in my mind. That's how I structured boundaries.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I never took it in and processed it like, okay, they're going to continue to do this if I don't say something.
Waiting for them to stop on their own.
Yes, I was thinking that they were going to stop on their own because I'm not responding. So if you don't see my response, you would think that you would stop. But if I don't say the thing and I don't say like, okay, this is it, this is what hurt my feelings, and then I'm left carrying it. You know what I'm saying? I'm left carrying this person always got something bad to say about something I got to do, and trying to not have the frustration, the issue linger. But now every time you say something, like you'll see my face be like, here she go again, or here they go again, and the same thing, because I haven't said anything. I haven't established it. I haven't said, hey, when you say this, it's not cool. Or this is
and I'm gonna go a step further, because I seen a comment here. She said, I've learned you can't expect people to behave the way you were raised. Facts. But I want to go a step further and say, but some people are completely unaware, right? Because that's their normal. Yeah. So until you tell me that my normal is affecting you, and you know what's crazy? What's crazy is sometimes their normal is affecting a bunch of people, but everybody is handling it
the same way, the same blanket way. Just let them be them.
So there's no change. There's no change because no one's corrected it. Everyone's affected by it, but no one's saying nothing. I'm completely transparent. I tell people this all the time that we do this out of our transparency. I used to have it so bad to the degree that there were times when I could be in a conversation with somebody and I'm talking over the person I'm talking to and completely unaware of it. And then one day was talking to somebody and they corrected me. It was a great correction, and but it was presented in such a way that it was easy to be received. The exact statement was when you come to the equation to conversations, do you think you're the only person who has something to say?
Oh man.
Do you think you're the only person with something good to say?
Right.
And that's never the intention. The truth is in my mind, I'd be like, if I don't say it right now, I'm gonna forget it. But if you be, but it doesn't matter what I'm processing it as on my end. How is it making you feel?
Yeah.
Because you feel like I'm not paying you no attention. You feel like I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even in my marriage, I had to remember that there were times when it didn't require me to say something. Sometimes it just required me to listen. But the solver in me, the person who wants to always have a solution, I don't even realize that what I'm doing is infringing on the boundary, the feelings, the emotion, the respect for a person I'm saying I love. You know, even this series has been heavy because I am having to evaluate not the people I don't like. I'm having to evaluate how I handle the people I say I love. The people you don't like, you know you mishandling them. You to be real with you, most of us, people we don't like, we are intentionally mishandling them. Now, no one's going to be real about it and say it, but there's a part of you that the reason you're responding that way is because you want it to be established and known.
That we ain't cool.
We ain't cool and I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? But so that I can deal with.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the fact, or how do you have to deal with the fact that there are people you like, you love, and you're like, why they don't ever want to be around you? Because there's something you're doing that's infringing on an unspoken boundary.
Right.
It's there, but you don't know it. It's kind of like when you get a dog and you don't have a fence and you put one of them old shock collar fences around. Like when you first walk into the yard, it don't seem like it's nothing there. But boy, have that collar on and run to the end of that yard and you immediately know
It's there.
I done crossed the line. But the only way you know that is at that point, there's a pain associated to it because now something is saying I crossed that line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes we have to get back to a place where we can, in healthiness, facilitate a boundary and not have to do it because I'm emotional, I'm hurt, or I'm angry, but because I really care about this relationship that we have.
Right.
And because I care about it and I want to see this through. I want it to have the longevity. I want it to have the growth and the potential that it has the capacity to have. I got to be honest enough to say, you're doing this thing right here.
Right.
And that thing is affecting me.
And it's also how you present it, right?
Yeah.
It's 100% how you present it, because there have been situations in my life that I've had to, like, the Bible will tell you how to tell somebody something. It'll say one-on-one. I pull this person to the side and I'm telling them, hey, this is going on. And I think this is unfair, inappropriate, whatever the case may be. Then if that don't change, now it's me and somebody else. And we talk to the person. This is what happened. This is how it makes people feel. This is how we need to do it. And if that doesn't change, then what's the next step? Now, you have to well, that's only if you guys are like submitted into like if we're in ministry, you're submitted. Then it's like, okay, now we're going to the board of saying, okay, this is inappropriate. So you have to be able to figure out, if I can talk to this person one-on-one, pull this person aside and say, hey, this was offensive in this way, and this is how it made me feel. Be okay with saying I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way.
Yeah, you don't have to get guarded and puff up. Like,
yeah.
It's okay that you did something and somebody was affected by it.
It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say sorry. It's not that big of a deal to say I'm sorry. I see somebody's hand raised.
I know. I wasn't sure. Sharon, is your hand up to say something?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
heard her. Oh, it's kind of faint.
Okay, hold on.
You hear?
Mm-mm.
All right, we'll come back to you, Sharon.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes. It's clear now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to bring up another perspective on the boundary because I know we talk a lot about the person that's setting the boundary because of something external
Mm-hmm.
that they want to set the boundary for, but a more broad, I think, look at boundaries could be the other way around as well. So it's like if I'm aware that I'm healing in the area and something may be a trigger for me
Right.
and I won't respond well, I can set a boundary with my children or my mother or my sister or somebody and say, hey, this is where we need to draw the line right here
Mm-hmm.
because you cross this line right now, I won't respond well to that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I value our relationship, this is where I am and this is as far as I can go with you on this thing.
Right.
And also, like, boundaries don't have to be permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so just because you set a boundary in this season, that may not be necessary in the next season. And
Right.
so when we're setting boundaries or when someone sets a boundary with us, I think that can help us not be so guarded or offended because it may not necessarily be permanent. And also, it's not always like if we can look beyond ourselves and not personalize everything, then that will also help, with being able to receive someone setting a boundary better, and being able to set boundaries better.
100%. I was going to add to what you said because it doesn't always have to be a permanent thing. I might be still just working on my faith in that area. Right.
You're right.
And if I don't come to the equation with with great faith in that area, and then you start talking to me about the said situation, now I'm really like digging myself out the mud and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. But if I'm not sound in myself with the situation that I'm currently in, I can't go and spread it to everybody. I can't talk
Right.
about it to everybody because I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there might be some shame I got to overcome. There might be some hurt. There might be some people that I'm trying to protect in this story. I'm not ready to share it in this moment. And as you begin to work through that process for yourself and apply the principles that you need for yourself, you'll begin to have um, a firmer foundation in it and say, okay, I can see the part that I played in it. I can see the part that this person may have played in it. So now I can come to the equation as whole and not hurt. You know how you talk to somebody about a situation that hurt you and they could bring up an idea that you didn't even think about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they was trying to do this to you. But like, no, maybe they were. And I didn't talk you all the way back to like, yeah, they out here to get me. But it really wasn't that. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking on your perspective in my situation that you weren't even in.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think another thing to really pay attention to in the scope of boundaries is pay attention to how people react when you put a boundary in place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pay attention. Because because it's going to tell you where they are maturity wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to tell you um it's going to begin to define some character of the relationship where it stands. Why? Because there are going to be some people you're going to put a boundary in place and those people are going to leave.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Let them.
That's okay. Let them leave. There's going to be some places where you put a boundary in place and the people going to throw a fit.
Let them.
Give them some room to pout and do what they're going to do. Then let them calm down. When they calm down, and be like, you know what? You was right in what you said, but I just didn't, it didn't feel good.
And
You
then
know,
sometimes it don't.
it's like,
Correction
it's
don't
like,
feel good.
it's like you talking to somebody, maybe y'all just in the early on phases of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so you talking to somebody and they want to talk every day, like
You're
all
right.
day, sorry. They want to talk all day.
I can't do
And
that.
so you have to tell them real quick, look, I got a lot going on in my life. I can't talk to you all day. I'm gonna make it my business to talk to you every day, but I can't talk to you all day, right? And look at how they respond. Because how they respond is going to tell you where you need to file that relationship. They get to cutting up and cussing and talking crazy. You know where it is.
Like, I thought, or the manipulation come in. I thought you said you love me. How could you go only talk to me at certain times of the day? Honey,
There's a whole lot of
got
life
things to
happening.
do.
There's a whole lot of life happening.
I got things to do. Don't manipulate the situation.
And so what I'm saying is we have to get to a place where putting a boundary in place is healthy.
Right.
Right? And understand, like, I want you to see this. Boundary is necessary, even in the Bible. The Bible tells you how your life should live according to how sin is permitted in your life, right? Like, sin should not be a part of your life. Well, that's a boundary.
Right.
I can't live like this because God is saying this thing shouldn't be invited in, or this type of person shouldn't be invited in. And so you have to understand, God create boundaries simply. My wife, we were talking about this just before we jumped in this call.
Right.
A boundary is simply separation.
Yeah.
It's separating one thing from another thing and saying those things can't meet. Those things can't exist or cohabitate in the same place.
Right.
So when you understand that, then you understand that being a person who puts a boundary in place, I'm not wrong, it's not unhealthy, but how people respond to your boundaries definitely tells you where things are. I think we answered
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into 3. Here's question number 3. What happens when you love without a boundary?
Yes.
A, again, here's this thing again. Here, you ready? A, you lose identity. B, you tolerate dishonor and disrespect. Or C, you confuse abuse with affection. A, you lose identity. B, you tolerate dishonor and disrespect. Or C, you confuse abuse with affection. A, B, and C. B and C. A and B. All of the above. I like that. You want to take a swing at this, or you want me to?
Oh, you can go first, and then I will, because I want to look for something first.
B is a heavy. You see, I'm gonna tell you. So if it was gonna be me again, B and C would definitely be my top 2. B being my heavy though, because we think that for some reason the idea is that to be a Christian is to become tolerant of everything. And so there are things that we tolerate that God has told us we're supposed to rebuke, we're supposed to reject, right? And so you will tolerate it, and in the course of toleration, you have basically accepted the abuse and the dishonor, right? And let me say this to you. My aunt used to tell me this all the time as a kid, and it stuck with me to even when you're grown. She says that you teach people how to treat you by what you allow.
Yes. I found the verse.
Go ahead.
It's Galatians 6:2-5. It says, we are told to carry each other's burdens, but also each carry their own load. It's like boundaries help you know when to support someone and when they need to take responsibility.
Yes. And so my aunt says, she says, be careful, right? Be careful, because there are people you're angry about the way that they're treating you, but the way that they're treating you is in direct association to what you've permitted.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to give you another boundary, right? The Bible says that bad company corrupts good morals.
Yes.
Right? So it says to not be in bad company, because bad company corrupts good morals.
Yes.
There's a statement that your environment will change you before you change your environment, right? Because the longer you sit in it, the more you will cultivate the habits, the behaviors, the attributes of whatever that environment you're sitting in is. So I have to create a boundary, and then I also have to stand on my boundaries, but then also be surrounded by people who love me enough that they respect my boundaries, right? And so when my love doesn't have a boundary, it can be misused, it can be mistreated, it can be mishandled, right? When it doesn't have a boundary, because I love you, but what I feel like you're reciprocating back to me it's not a positive response to my love, but it feels almost like an abusive response to my love. And so what we find ourselves doing more often and more frequently than not is we find ourselves tolerating misuse, mistreatment of us or our love because we value the person that's there. But what we're missing is in the grand scheme of trying to value that person, I'm devaluing myself.
Right.
I'm devaluing my faith.
Right.
And I'm devaluing my principles.
Right, because now I made that person my idol.
Exactly.
And so since I've given you all of the accolades, two of us can't be on the same. I don't need the word escape me, but if I make you more valuable than me, then how can I look at myself and say, oh well, what I say and what I feel matters too. But if you constantly tell me it doesn't, because I need to respect what you got to say, we're not in agreement. We're not like sharing each other's values. It's just one sided.
One-sided. Here's a post. KT, make sure to throw that out there. He says, most of the times people put in boundaries to control someone else, when boundaries should be to protect your peace, time, energy, and most of all, your salvation. Love your neighbor as yourself. 100%. And I think that's even what we were saying earlier, was making sure that when I when I establish my boundaries, that I do it not out of anger.
Right.
It comes off manipulative. It comes off like bondage and control. It shapes into something totally opposite of what it was intended to be, and it becomes toxic. And so what you have to make sure that you're doing is that when you're establishing those boundaries, also, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
That boundary should protect you and them.
Right. It's not just for you.
It doesn't just protect me. The boundaries that God has called me to put in my marriage, in the relationship with my children, in the relationship with my friends, in the relationship with my family, in the relationship with my coworkers, those boundaries don't just protect me, they protect you. They protect you from a couple of things. One of the things they protect you from is the yin of my yang, right? The bad of my good, right? Like, because we're good people, but we all have the capacity to have bad moments. And so that boundary protects you from experiencing those bad moments. But that boundary also, depending on what that boundary is, that boundary also protects you from things that could very well be unhealthy for anybody associated to that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Or for where I'm trying to go.
Or for where I'm trying to go.
Because not everybody is going to go with you where God has called you to go. And they could be great people, but they're just not going where God has said go. Some places, like you've seen in the Bible, they've gone by themselves.
Yes.
They've gone alone. And there's some seasons in your life where you have to go alone. It's not really I'm going alone because I'm going with God, but he needs to have my ear. He needs to have my attention. And I mean, like today, I had to turn down some phone calls because I was really studying the word. And it was my time with God. But yes, I know people need things from me or would call or text or whatever. But if this is my time with God, I have to set that boundary and saying, this is me and him time. And just like you would do with your family, this is our family time. And we can't let something interrupt it, because the importance of this, I can't let it be distracted with what everybody else has going on. My children are important. To raise them with the word of God is important to me. So if I need to stop doing this thing over here so my children can benefit, let my children benefit. Let the people that are important to me benefit from what I have. I need to take a moment. Yeah. Family time is important. We have gotten so far away from family. It's crazy. I mean, you said it in one of your sermons. We don't even sit at the dinner table and ask our children, how were their day?
No, we got away from that.
We have gotten away from so many things where now the idle time is spent somewhere else. Now I'm getting my information from somewhere else. But I got a whole mom and dad sitting at home.
Full of experience,
knowledge,
good and bad.
Good and bad, wisdom, all of the things. Like, when you're doing life with someone, I don't want to do my life with someone and they're always on their phone or they're always talking to somebody else. Like you could have told all of the world about salvation, but missed your home,
Mm-hmm.
miss where you lay your head every night.
And so that's again why boundaries are important. And you need to know where, don't go creating boundaries out of self. Like ask God, do I give people too much access in this part of my life? Do in this area of my life, do people have more access to what's going on than you? Because to be honest with you, the boundaries sometimes ain't just about them. Sometimes God needs you to set some boundaries so you can create some time and some space and place for God to have input, for God to have say. You know what I mean? Like, and this love series, while we're learning everything love isn't, one of the things that I have had to find myself asking myself is, God, do I love you properly?
Right.
Right? Am I creating boundaries with the world that make sure that it still establishes that you are the priority? Right? That the intimacy between me and you is still of importance.
Important.
Or is there always an excuse why God's time can be shifted or be changed or be moved or be pushed because God understands.
Right.
Right? It's
I'm doing his work, but you ain't spending no time with him.
It's like those relationships where we push the line because we know we can get away with it. Right? Oh, I don't have to call you today. I got 1 hour to make a phone call. I don't have to call Vanessa. Vanessa's not gonna be mad if I don't call her. I call Vanessa in a week, and when I pick up the phone, we're gonna talk like we've been talking all the time, all along. All the while, Vanessa's over at Vanessa's area of her life, saying to herself, no one checks on me, no one calls me, no one makes me a priority. And the truth is, we become so self-involved, it's become so much about us that we don't know how for it to be about anybody else, let alone be about God. We become human doings instead of human beings. I like that, Charlene.
Come on, Charlene.
I like that. We become human doings instead of human beings. That's the truth. Is we do so much, and you know what's crazy? We are doing so much and then asking God to put us in a position not to have to do as much. I'm gonna just be transparent. I have been praying for God to do this ministry is growing, some things are making some shifts, and I've been praying for God to open some doors so that we can more comfortably, more freely do the things that we do today and even on another level, right? And I find myself saying, God, open up a door, give me, make room. And then in the course of God makes room, and then I go find something else to put in the room of the time God made. And God is like, Brian, I didn't create that time or space for that. And so I'm saying that because in the scheme or in the plot of establishing boundaries, you understand boundaries. I understand boundaries even deeper, even further, and even more, because one of the things that God is saying to me is boundaries is not just inclusive, not just secluded to relationships and the things that we seclude them to, but really also creating boundaries around the opportunities, the time, the presence that I'm asking God to step into. You know what I'm saying? And so we just have to be very conscious of that principle, that thing, boundary. Here we go. I'm jumping around a little bit. Those y'all not following, but the wife is. Why do people fear setting boundaries in love? Why do people fear setting boundaries in love? A, the fear of rejection. B, the fear of being selfish. Or C, the fear of losing the relationship. A, the fear of rejection. B, the fear of being selfish. Or C, the fear of losing the relationship.
B, C.
It's a lot of C's.
B and C.
C. But you know what? I believe at the top of that list for a lot of people, it is the fear of losing the relationship. And really, to be honest, as with anything, A and C, and with anything, most of those things are so reflective it's so individual.
Yeah.
right? It's so individual. And what I mean by that is oftentimes people who fear rejection have been rejected. So the idea that if I say this, it's going to create a rejection from you is because somewhere in my life, I tried to do this thing and it produced what I felt like was a rejection.
Because rejection, even with rejection, you have to go through separation, and separation is hard.
Yep.
Right? So I'm so used to doing life with this person, and then like, but this thing bothers me, and it's bothering me so much that now I have to tell you it's bothering me. And now, okay, I tell you that this bothers me, and then you stop talking to me as much. We stop spending as much time together. We stop doing, the things that I like. Okay, because I told you it's something I don't like. But
And it didn't mean I didn't like you. It just meant I didn't like this thing. Right?
But it becomes to a big blowout over something that all it took was a conversation. But in that conversation, we both walk away hurt because now we walking away in that separation and uncomfortability, and now I don't know how to behave around you. Now I don't know how to ask you things or talk to you about things. And if you were the person that I came to talk to all the time, it's like, now who do I go to talk to about my things?
And that goes back to valuing the other person more than the things that's bothering you.
100%.
100%. And let me tell you something. That's why you heard earlier when we said some boundaries are seasonal. It's because of what I'm healing from. It's because of what God is transitioning me out of, right? Sometimes that boundary is temporary. I tell you one of the hardest things, and I don't know if anybody on the call has ever had to do this, when God sends you into isolation.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to get something both out of you and into you.
Yeah.
And you have to create that boundary that says, I can't, for this season, I can't answer phone calls. I can't call these people or this person. You know what I'm saying? I can't I can't even show up to places I would have normally showed up to because God is saying in this moment, I'm going to be selfish and I'm saying all of your time needs to be spent with me.
Yeah.
Let me read this. He says, subconsciously, most people fear two things related to this question. The fear of having a tough conversation, come on, boss, and the fear of the discomfort that conversation may cause for an extended time after the, come on.
Exactly it.
That's 100%
Exactly
it. The fear of having a tough conversation and the fear of the discomfort. That's a big part. The discomfort that conversation may cause for an extended time after the conversation. 100%. And you know what's crazy? The reason that this answer, his statement makes so much sense, because when it's people who, we don't say that anyone doesn't matter, but when it's people whose proximity of distance doesn't affect you as much, the idea that it could cause that discomfort for extended time, that distance, that potential for distance, doesn't affect you nearly as much as it does somebody whose presence you have already determined you enjoy.
Yeah.
I've expressed something I didn't like, and they tried to explain why they did it. Not from an apologetic stance, but to justify their action. Nothing was rectified. Let me tell you a tough lesson I had to learn, right? Was learning to listen to understand. Because when you listen to understand, you don't have to agree, but you at least show the other person, I see how you got there. That wasn't my intention. So now I can deal with what my intent was, right? But listening to understand puts me in a position to listen with the possibility that I could be the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny, this ain't even in the top tier of our questions, but what if the boundary is created because of you? Yeah. Oftentimes we're talking about the boundary protecting us from other people, but what if you're the person that God is creating boundaries in other people's lives for?
Yeah.
Then I have to go back and ask myself, God, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Reveal it to me. Like, you really have to sit back and process and like, okay, I know I ain't perfect, but what is causing my friends to flee? What is it causing my relationships not to last? And if that's a value to you, if if friendship is of value to you, because some people ain't gonna tell you. Some people ain't gonna be like, look, Vanessa, every time I come on here on Tuesday nights, you calling me out, so I don't come on Tuesday nights no more.
Mhm.
You know, some people ain't gonna tell you that, but because maybe you're not that close in the relationship, but you desire that closeness from them.
And
So
it,
you have to go
and
back and
it also
sit
might
back
not
and
be
say,
that. It might not be either. It might be the personality of the person. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
use two people that I know I can get away with this with, so I'm
Oh,
gonna use them.
Lord.
Okay, I think both of them are on call. Yep, there's one, and okay. So here's the deal. I have a relationship with both Clarissa and with Sharon. Okay,
Mhm.
I have a relationship with both of them. Okay, if I do something that Sharon don't like, Sharon might think about it before she say something to me. Like she's gonna process it for a while, determine how she want to say it. My girl Clarissa though,
She gonna tell you right off the bat.
right off the bat,
Right when you used to come out your mouth.
straight up say, "Look, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. You probably shouldn't have said that." Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's also associated with how people are wired.
Yeah.
It's like my boy Cal, the comment Cal made. Cal is the type of Cal, as I have known Cal, is the type of person that if he didn't like something, if he didn't appreciate something, he's not somebody whose thoughts or ideas or feelings you have to guess because they're on the forefront. You feel what I'm saying? They're out there. But you have people who also are the polar in character. They're the polar opposites. So because in character, they're the polar opposites, how they engage conflict, how they engage discomfort, how they engage boundaries, sometimes it's so different, right? Like, again, I used myself as an example because for the longest, growing up in church, being a PK, right, it was always about how it made somebody else feel. It was, you never really processed it from how it affected me because your entire life was ministry. Everything was on display for everybody. So it was always about, if I did this, how did it affect this person? If I said this, how does it affect this person? If I was caught at this place or seen at that place, how did it affect this person? So those
No appearance of.
yeah, so those trainings, those teachings made it where you overthought about how it's going to affect somebody. And before you know it, 90% of the time, I thought myself out of my response. Like in the moment, I'm like, oh, you should know. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But then it's like, well, being real, what would daddy do? I know what daddy do. Daddy wouldn't say nothing, so I'm not going to say nothing. And then I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive all the way home, mad, frustrated,
you want to say
fussing at the steering wheel and the seat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't even know where to begin to say this affected me or I didn't like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that because sometimes I have learned that we have to be aware of the people we say are within our circle. It's one thing when it affected somebody you don't know, like somebody on the outside of your circle. But when it's affecting the nucleus, the people in the circle, I should be somewhat aware enough of you to know how to handle you, right? How to approach those conversations with you. Again, going back to those two ladies that I named, right? I know how to approach each of them. I know how to approach each of them because I understand my relationship to each of them, right? I know that I can go to Clarissa and I'm going to start off with, sis, let me tell you, boy, quit playing and just say it. You know what I'm saying? Sharon's going to kind of be the same way. Brian, we cool. Just say it, right? So you just, it's knowing the people you're talking to. And then you got those that are, people that you have to put boundaries in with. And sometimes it may feel like a debate. It's, prime example, I got a child. Who, when you give him a boundary, it's probably a debate. Well, I don't want you to do this. Well, why you don't want me to do it? Because I don't like the way it looks or the way it feels or the way it does, whatever, when it does when you do it. But it's not really that serious. It is that serious because I'm asking you not to, you know what I'm saying? It's just like this tug and war of it. And that sometimes makes putting boundaries in places with some people probably a little more complicated than others Because if you're not argumentative, which a boundary shouldn't be an argument, but what I'm saying is if you can't stand on it, you'll sway. Because there's some people who, when you put the boundary in place, it doesn't mean that they're going to leave, and it don't mean that they're going to stop.
Right.
And I want to throw this disclaimer out here as before we roll into the next last few questions. I want to say this: when you put a boundary in place and you dealing with people who can't respect the boundaries, and the boundary is a deal breaker, it's okay to walk away. And I'm not talking about just walk away from the debate or the discussion. If God has given you the release, it's okay to walk away from the person. See, here's the problem. Sometimes we fighting for people. We fighting to keep people in our lives God never intended to be in our lives in the first place. And then it's people we ain't fighting to keep in our lives that God has called to be placed in your life that you ain't fighting for. And so what I'm saying all that to say is that we think that we are assigned to everybody, but you're not assigned to everybody. It's God didn't give me the assignment to every individual on this planet. He assigned me to the people he assigned me to. He assigned me to the relationships he assigned me to. And I'm accountable and I'm responsible, and I'm going to give an account for the relationships that God did assign to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I got to operate within those accordingly.
100%. I agree.
Let's jump, okay? Here, you ready? How did Jesus model boundaries in love?
I knew you was going to read that one.
How did Jesus model boundaries in love? Multiple choice. A, he withdrew to pray. B, he walked away from crowds at times. And C, he didn't entrust himself to everyone. A, he withdrew to go pray. B, he walked away from crowds at times. Or C, he didn't entrust himself to everyone. C. C. Oh. C. Yep. All. A and C. You want it or you want me to tell you?
Go ahead.
He didn't entrust himself to all. They were still grabbing his coattail, 100%.
I was about to say, because they knew. That's the thing, though. People know what's on your life.
100%.
But I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You take it. I was hoping you was going to take one of them. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. People know what's on your life. And sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
But they can see it. And they want it. And because they want it for themselves. They want that freedom for themselves. Like, if you have a shy person, right, that doesn't talk a lot, that wants to talk a lot, they're going to watch people that talk a lot so they can figure out, okay,
how do I talk a lot?
How do I talk a lot? How do I get that rhythm? How do I get the courage? Now I'm getting excited off your courage to go and talk and do the things. Okay, so then I'm going to try it one day. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm watching you so much that I'm developing your cadence. And now I'm going to try it with your cadence. And it's not genuinely me. But the flip side of that is, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. When you want something, like the word of God, you want the blessings in the Bible, you want the things that the Bible says that you can have freely, you got to get in there. And you got to start reading. You got to start studying. And then after you start reading and studying, you got to apply.
100%.
And then walk that thing out. All of those things it's a good thing, right? But the way that I see the separation when it says, you can't, access isn't just granted to everybody. There's something you have to do. The Bible says, seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. There's work.
Steps.
It's not, everything isn't freely given. Even there are some things that are freely given.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything isn't.
100%. You got to work it.
Yeah.
And I think the part where he says he walked away from crowds at times, the thing that I got out of that when I used to read that, even like when I used to read and see that even in the early on phases of ministry, right, was knowing that there was a time
And a place.
that the crowd the crowd may be what you're called to in a season, but there's still a season that you have to go in charge, and a season you have to go and listen, and a season where you have to step away, right? And the truth is that applies even to the relationships in our everyday aspects of our lives. There's some times when you gotta step away, right? When you gotta silence what's going on around you, even if it's for a moment. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's for a moment, because what I love about understanding that was understanding that even perfect love, because Jesus was perfect love, right? Even perfect love had limits. Like it had, and I don't mean limits like the love was limited. I mean like there comes a point where Jesus even himself had to
Step away.
And
it was just him and God. He went up the mountain by himself and prayed.
And he was selective with who was with him.
Right. But the importance is, though, everybody still needs the love of God.
Yes.
Like to go back and say, okay, yes, I know I have children that require my time. I got a husband that requires my time, but I still desire God's love for myself. I love God's presence. And even in the season that I'm in right now, I want to know the word of God for myself. Like for real. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference from somebody else telling you what God's word says. And to be able to go and God entrust you with discovery. You know what I'm saying? I know it sounds a little strange, but for God to say, okay, Vanessa, you want to know, I'm going to show you. And it's like, oh, God finna show me? And then you get excited. Like you see my excitement today. And I was like, okay, look, this verse says this, and then this correlates back to this. It's exciting when God actually turns that light on and lets you dive in. And you can get like, it's like you get engulfed in it and like, okay, God, this is such a beautiful thing that you're allowing me to do. And then you go back and now I can deal with, it's a refreshing. And then I can go back and deal with whatever the kids got going on, whatever my husband got going on, or people, whatever the case may be. But it's just that time away. It's the time away just to be intimate with God.
And let me say this to you, too, while we're talking about boundaries. In every capacity that we talked about it up until this point, we've talked about boundaries relative to people to you. We've talked about boundaries relative to you to people. But sometimes we need boundaries for us.
Yeah.
Some places where God is saying, like, there has to be some isolated time for me. Let me go back to that. He came to save all, not to spend time with all. He had a purpose, and he aligned with those that helped fulfill that purpose, whether they 100%. And that last part, whether they were good or bad. Because I kid you not, the other day I was saying to myself, Jesus could have got to the cross any possible way. But he got to the cross through Judas.
Yes.
So he had to have a Judas that the prophecy for his life, that the purpose for his life be fulfilled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so understand that there's people in our lives that God has called us to serve. They're good, but then there's people in our lives that God has called to push us. Yeah. They point us at him. They lead us to the cross, right? But the truth of the matter is, let me tell you this. None of this will make any sense. Boundaries, faith, Christ, Christianity, your own journey, your own purpose, none of it will make sense if you're not spending no personal, intimate, you and God time. Because you'll always be eating whatever somebody else prepared. You'll always be studying the word based on somebody else's interpretation, somebody else's explanation. And I'm going to be real with you. I know I ain't even going to do this test because I don't even want to put people on the spot to have to raise their hand. But let's just be real. many of us spend so much time on any form of social media, YouTube, TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. We spend so much time in those places. And if I be honest, rarely, not saying it doesn't, but so often the distractions there are even that much more heavier than the good you're trying to get out of those places sometimes. And so sometimes I even need to create healthy boundaries between me and my social platforms. I need to create healthy boundaries between me and Facebook, between me and TikTok. Definitely between me and TikTok, right? If you wake up in the morning and before you even talk to God is TikTok. If you wake up in the morning and you spend listen, I ain't got it as bad. I'm getting a little better, but at one point it was so bad. I would go to the restroom, sit on the toilet with the phone in my hand, and I'd be on TikTok so long that my toes start to tingle like they losing feelings because the blood didn't stop flowing. You understand me? And the reality, excuse me, the reality is that I can honestly say that that's time, quality time, that could be spent, invested 100% in something else. Yeah. It is impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. This requires to be completely transparent with our true selves before God. And if I had a highlighter that completely transparent,
yes.
That I wish I could highlight that because it would be the completely transparent. Yeah. Listen, I can be ashamed of who I genuinely am in front of other people. But between me and God, there should be no shame because I already know it's who I am and God already see me live in it every day. You know what I'm saying? I see a hand.
Yeah, I don't know if he was raising
it. KT, were you waving your hand or raising your hand? If you was raising your hand, shoot for it, bro. If you was waving your, there you go.
I was doing both of them, my bad.
Nah, you good, boss.
I was doing both of them, so I wouldn't let you go out like that with TikTok and everything. I had to be honest. I had to be honest with it too, man. You know what I'm saying? I told myself this morning, don't get that phone, man, and look at no Facebook posts. Go straight to the Father and say, my Father. But I didn't do that. I said, oh my God, I forgot to say my Father. So I'm with you on that part, man. Thank you for confessing right now at the altar. I'm with you confessing.
Man.
But I don't want to look past that part of what the Trinity of you, Cal, and Belinda. Y'all said it at the same time. I don't type as well.
Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
so fast. So when Cal was writing what he's saying, Belinda was speaking the same thing. And then without you, what you reading what Cal was saying, you already interpreted of understanding what Cal was talking about.
Yeah.
With the Judas. And I don't want us to go past that, man, for the fact is because that is a hard one for us to swallow.
Yeah.
We think that we don't need a Judas in our lives to push us to where we're supposed to go. This is what she was talking about. That's a part of the purpose in our lives. That might be a hurt part of it, but how do you that's allowing us to understand how our Savior felt.
Yeah.
We get to experience the way he felt when it's done to us.
Yeah.
And we underline it and we don't appreciate it enough because all we're going to do is ask for what can God do for me next. But he said, pick up your cross and suffer as I did. But when we read those words, we think about pain. Yeah. Man, suffering is joy. Every bit of suffer that we go through causes us to be greater in our obedience, be greater in our faith, be greater in our measures, be greater in our prayer, be greater in our walk. Every time we are faced with the trials and tribulations and offense come in our lives, that's an opportunity for us to get to a higher measures with God. And so, man, I know it don't run across us, but in this life, we would never get to where we going if we just appreciate the good and don't appreciate Judas.
Yes.
We have to appreciate Judas because the Judas is going to cause me that is where my strength is going to come in at. Jesus was with him the whole time and he knew, man, if I kick this boy out, it won't be fulfilled.
Yes.
If I keep messing with this boy, it will not be fulfilled.
Yes.
I got to appreciate knowing why I'm hurt as something is being fulfilled in not only my life, but in my marriage, with my kids, and with my salvation with God. It has to be fulfilled if I'm going to say all these prayers. It got to come with it.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, I like that, but I'm going to piggyback off of that just for a second. You ready? Imagine, we talking about Jesus here. Yeah. Imagine walking, living, doing life with somebody you already know is going to betray you. Yet you still have to keep him close because that's the mission. You know what I'm saying? Like, for many of us, if we knew that that person was going to be my downfall or my demise, we are cutting him or her off immediately. We're not giving you room to make that error or that mistake. Yet Jesus had to still eat, do bread, break bread, do life, all of that with somebody who you already knew was getting ready to betray you. Why are you saying that? Because I think the other lesson in that too is to be careful that you don't create a boundary that pushes out the person that's supposed to be pushing, that God is intending to use to push you even closer to your purpose, right? That you done got so caught up in, I don't like the way this feels, and I don't like this person's presence or this whatever about this person that irks you. You don't like it, but Jesus still had to walk it out. And I get it. You know what we like to say, huh? I'm not Jesus. Yeah, you're not. But the definition of the word Christian is to be a follower of Christ, to follow it not in sense of puppy dog, but follow in sense of to learn, to understand, to try to become more like, knowing that you will never fully rise to the occasion of being him. But the idea is to continue in the pursuit of becoming even better at being like him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the thing that we have to understand is in that we have to watch how we handle people that God has intentionally sent in our lives.
Yeah.
That there's purpose in what's there. I don't want to close out without this last one. I don't want to say this last one because this last one is not one. I don't put A, B, or C. I want you to reflect on it within yourself. If you decide you want to answer A, B, or C, that's your choice. But I also want you to be thinking about this long after we get off this call. Question says, what practical boundary do you need to set this week? What practical boundary do you need to set this week? A says emotional boundaries, what you share and when. B, relational boundaries, access and influence. Or C, spiritual boundaries, priorities and purity. A, emotional boundaries, what you share and when you share it. B, relational boundaries, access and influence. And C, spiritual boundaries, priorities and purity. Why are you saying that? Because what I want you to be doing, I see the sacrifice. Let me say this to you. For many of us, I see the sacrifice of you just getting on a call on a Tuesday night at 7:00. When some of you just got off of work, some of you got kids in your house that you're tending to, preparing dinner and preparing for bed. Some of you, this is your hour of quiet time before it's time for the rest of life to continue doing whatever it's going to do. So I know there's a sacrifice, but I don't want your sacrifice to be in vain, because what we should be doing is leaving these things on Tuesday nights with something to go and refine ourselves even more with.
Right.
And so I'm saying that to you today in the sense, ask yourself, is it an emotional, a relational, or a spiritual boundary that God is asking of me in this season of my life? And if it is, man, spend some time with God and discover how, in the healthiest way you possibly can, to put those boundaries in place, regardless to who that boundary is intended to be placed in front of. Because God is asking more of each of us. Man, listen, it was a great call. Couple of quick things. Just, I guess, house chores before we pray and get out of here. In the chat, we are going to drop in the chat. There's a link for 2 links, whichever. One is for the after service. We are planning a after service, not this Saturday coming, but next Saturday. It's another kickback. Think of like what we're doing here, but with food, fellowship, kickback. You get to meet both people in this that meet with us on Tuesday nights, as well as you get to meet people and be around people who may not even be a part of this group. It's kind of open to invite, right? But we talk about, it's very open discussion. It's just open flow. We play some games, kind of chill. And then there's this panel discussion where you get to ask just whatever. And we navigate and we talk through and we communicate through that together. And so that is September the 20th from 12 to 3. The information is in the chat. Also, maybe you just want to, sew into what we're doing. There's a Cash App on there as well that you can just sow, give, support. I kid you not. This is going to continue to happen regardless.
Right.
This is just you being able to sow into good ground and be a part of something that God, I believe 100% most definitely is doing. All right. We love you guys. We're going to pray dismissal. So as we pray to dismiss, if you have any prayer needs, anything you want somebody to touch and agree with you on, just drop it in the chat as my loving wife is going to pray us out of here today.
All right. First, I want to just open the floor if anybody had anything they want to say. And that's okay if you don't.
Awesome job, sis. Brother, awesome job on that, man. Every I would like to say, man, everybody in the participation was awesome.
Yeah.
Everything that was wrote down on here was amazing, man. All the response, all the questions asked, all the answers that was given on here, just straight up powerful, man. God bless, man. What a platform, man. Good job. To the Yoke family, man. That's all I gotta say, man. Make sure we're not spitting on the mics over there. Love y'all.